I left seething with anger at the waste of money and time on the part of myself and everyone involved in making this.
That's not that inaccurate.
It is bad in a way that makes you want to claw your eyes out.
Okay, I mean, it's not that bad. It's very bad.
There isn't a werewolf in this one. So,
exactly. Yeah.
Worst comic book film ever.
Was this based off of a comic book?
Yeah.
It sure is.
It might be. I don't know.
It is.
I mean, I'm saying it might be the worst comic book. I'm trying to think. No,
I don't know. There's some other ones.
There's some Catwoman with Halle Berry.
Spicy.
Yeah.
That was a 1-star review on IMDb. Hello and welcome. We are Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Steven, joined as always by Andrew.
That's not what your mother said last night, Trebek.
And Ryan.
I can't think of another Connery quote. That was the one I was going to go with. Give me one ping and one ping only.
One ping only.
One ping only. Oh, okay. Well, we're not doing Hunt for the Rocktober. No. We're not doing Celebrity Jeopardy. So
both good things.
Your references are on the mark, but also off the mark, because what we're actually talking about is 2003's The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
LXG for the cool kids that are in the know.
No, not cool kids. Pretty much just the only way to actually say that without having to say it over and over.
So actually what we should have done for this episode, instead of doing a 1-star review, done a 10-star review.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
there are none.
Oh, no, there are.
Wow. That's incredible. An incredible idea.
I didn't even think about it until he started talking. It's like, we could have done a 10-star review on this.
Now you've got me.
This movie changed my life.
Hold on. I've got to find one.
I proposed to my wife after this movie during the credits.
Well, while he finds this.
I want to know.
Yeah, so we're doing League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. LXG.
LXG, like the marketing said for those.
It's extreme.
If your mom dropped you off at the theater to see this, then you know what LXG is.
So while he looks that up.
This wasn't even the 90s, though. How could it actually be extreme?
Like,
everything's extreme.
Knee-jerk reactions to this film.
Yeah.
Ryan, go.
It's bad. I remember not liking it in the theater when I saw it when it came out, and I don't think I've seen it in its entirety since.
Like, I haven't seen it since it came out.
I've probably seen it like on TNT or USA or whatever in a piece. But like, I just remember being very disappointed in this movie because, and we'll get into it in the episode, it's still bad. It did nothing to change my opinion of the movie.
For me, I was disappointed.
I saw this in theaters, and like this should have been a good movie. I thought this was going to be a good movie.
I thought it was too.
Holy cow! And it didn't even have like a Van Helsing or a
like kind of like
Underworld.
So campy, charming.
Well, not even for back then. Back then it was just like, man, you couldn't just like cast Kate Beckinsale. Like,
come on,
give me something here.
Get Katie on the phone. What are you doing?
What the heck, man? She likes to get paid.
She was a vampire in another movie. She could be a vampire.
They were probably filming concurrently.
Oh, definitely. So what's insane? You ready for this, boys? Buckle up. There are 79 10-star reviews.
Nice.
There are 66
We're going to go through each and every one.
How many family members does Sean Connery have? You think it's about 79?
We're going to get into some trivia. I don't think Sean would have paid it. I think he would have paid for the 1 stars.
He calls his grandson in. How do I create a second account and another review?
How do I create an account? And then after that, I want more.
It's called stacking the deck.
Oh, okay. So quick synopsis. In an alternate Victorian age world, a group of famous contemporary fantasy, science fiction, and adventure characters team up on a secret mission.
Victorian age world.
So read one of the 10-star
You just want me to pick one at random?
I just have to
Just pick one. Don't even pre-proof it. Just go.
This is a summer treat that begs for a sequel.
Oh, wow.
I thoroughly enjoyed this film from beginning to end.
Wow.
I had been looking forward to the film because of the participation of Pato Wilson in the cast. She was great as La Femme Nikita. I am also a fan of Sean Connery. The entire cast excelled in this fantasy film, and I plan to see it again. And of course, we'll buy the DVD when it's available. I hope it does enough business to merit a sequel. Overall, this is a great fantasy for summertime viewing. CGI was also impressive. Also loved Mr. Hyde, Captain Nemo, and the Nautilus, and that car they had was better than the Batmobile.
That's definitely a paid review.
Written by Denis Villeneuve.
I love how it's got like the little helpful thing, 0 helpful, 4 down vote. Sean Connery's best action movie since The Rock.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God! Well, I mean, he was in between The Rock and this.
Entrapment.
Avengers.
There's something else, too. Go ahead, Steven.
He was not in between. This was it. This is his last film.
No. But what I like
in between The Rock and
this.
Yeah. A ripping yarn, indeed.
Wow.
I loved LXG. Oh my gosh, other people actually use that term.
I mean, that's how they marketed it.
Is it? Boy, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the posters.
No, wait, hold on. The most unfairly trashed movie since Daredevil.
Ooh, that's another really bad movie. Wow. Oh, I'm seeing a type
As for the
here.
comic book fans, despite all the differences, there's actually quite a few things they stayed true to.
What were the differences? Like, was it something about their quality?
Oh no, there's at least one in the trivia. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. So,
all right, yeah.
Steven, what did you think about this movie?
I hated it.
Wow.
Just going back to 2003, me, I hated it.
Yeah.
Watching it now,
You hated it more?
Second time watching it,
Yeah.
it's just
Same.
So I will say this: like, I'm not as harsh a critic now as I was then.
Yeah.
It's still bad. Like,
It's still very
so
bad.
Okay. Like, so that's the thing. Is like, I don't want to sit here and just dog on the movie the whole time,
No,
which
no.
will be very difficult to do.
No, it wouldn't. It has a cool concept.
Yeah, so-
it'll be difficult for you to not. Okay, yeah,
Yes,
fair.
yes.
No,
So that's
true.
the thing. The actual concept of what they were trying to accomplish
Right.
is actually pretty compelling
incredibly cool.
and very, very interesting to
Yeah.
have like a shared universe between like Captain Nemo
Right.
and all these other kind of like fantastical things.
Tom Sawyer.
Oh, Matt.
But here's what I'll say. This is like the elevator pitch for me, right? Is it like, I feel like this movie starts okay.
It does.
And it has the building blocks
It has
of
the
like
trappings
a
of-
fun romp,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, this is going to be fun. The middle becomes extremely predictable and rote and like middling, and like the writing is just
also
like
somehow
hackneyed.
slow.
And then the third act is a toilet on fire being thrown off the roof of a dumpster factory.
Well, so the
It
problem,
just
like it
dive
falls
bombs.
in the same problem that Van Helsing had.
Yeah.
Where like the first part of it is like, okay, this is actually like we can go somewhere with this.
Right,
The middle
yeah.
part's kind of like, it's a little mid.
We can go up or down here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you hit the final
commit to
act
down.
and it just commits so hard. It doubles down and triples down on stuff that was already
And the thing is,
bad.
It's already, yeah.
Van Helsing's third act is bad. If Van Helsing's third act had happened as the third act of this movie, I'd be like, oh man, did they save this film?
yeah, no kidding.
I know at least one of you out there, Matt, you're listening. I know you're a patron. If you play the board game Unmatched at all, like this movie is kind of unmatched. It's like, what if
little
we
bit,
put
yeah.
all these different characters together and saw how could they interact? It's like in that realm, really cool, great concept.
Yeah.
Execution is woof. So this came out in 2003.
Yeah.
Was directed by Stephen Norrington.
What else has he
This is a name you're never going to hear. So he did.
He's been lost in the Bermuda Triangle.
So he did Blade, but I didn't actually look hard enough to be positive if that's like the first Blade or if that's something else.
Another
or
movie
something
called
totally-
Blade.
Yeah.
It's probably the first Blade.
He did Blade, Death Machine, The Last Minute, and this.
Oh wow! So just 4 films.
When this finished, he announced he would never direct another movie again after this film.
This ended multiple careers.
This ended multiple careers. This movie broke
He said,
him.
I've been irreparably scarred by what happened to me on this film.
my life have left me scarred and deformed.
So this movie is written by Alan Moore, Kevin O'Neill,
Yeah.
and James Robinson.
So Alan Moore is the writer of the comic, so he probably just gets credit for it being like based on that stuff.
So
or did he actually?
He had some part in this,
Okay.
but not A lot.
And then he left halfway through production.
Because Alan Moore is notoriously the grumpiest comics writer on earth. Like,
Really?
he's very curmudgeonly.
But also, I'm just going to give some.
He doesn't
trivia
like
here.
adaptations of his stuff.
Well, no, he doesn't like adaptations. He, I think, was kind of on board with this one, and then he saw what the finished product was, and he refused to be involved in V for Vendetta. He refused to be involved in The Watchmen.
Yeah.
So he was just like, I'm not doing. Like, if you're doing an adaptation, it's because you paid me and left me alone.
This movie ruined so many people.
I mean, you have to have one a decade, right? So that is just like so awful to work on, that just destroys everyone's career in its path.
Just leaves just a wake of destruction.
All right, well, let's
A
go
wake
ahead
as large as the Nautilus.
Let's go ahead and lay down a list of these people, right? So this movie stars Sean Connery, Stuart Townsend, Peter Wilson, Jason Fleming, Nazaruddin Shah, Tony Curran, Shane West, and Richard Roxburgh.
The only person that I know outside of Sean Connery is Richard Roxburgh.
Yeah.
That's it.
He
had a tear in the early aughts, man.
He did, man. He was in everything. That dude made money.
Yeah.
Like Stuart Townsend was in Queen of the Damned, like the sequel to Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
And I remember not liking him that much in that. He's been some other stuff. And then the dude that plays Dr. Jekyll.
Jason Fleming.
Yeah. I've seen him in other stuff,
seen
like
him
British
in
stuff.
stuff.
I'm like, it's that guy, but I don't
on the
have like
BBC.
It's Dr. and Jekyll from
look at
LXG.
He's like, don't ever say that again.
He punches you in
It's
the
a
mouth.
black mark on my career.
So music by Trevor Jones, who has credits for things like Last of the Mohicans.
You would think that this would be a banger soundtrack.
So it does make me wonder, did Randy Edelman do all the work on that then? Because when you look at Last Mohicans soundtrack, it's credited both of them.
Both of them.
So it's like, man, Randy, were you just working hard? Trevor was just over on the side? Or, because like, I don't know about y'all, but like none of this music, we were like, let's pick a music
none
for
of
the
that
ad
was
break.
like,
We're like, what are we
yeah.
going to play?
Oh yeah, like when we stopped for a second to try to think about the music in this, I was like, I have it like water on a duck's back.
Yeah.
None of the music stuck to my brain, just flush right out. Like I didn't remember anything.
one ear out the other one.
Yeah,
just like my cat listening to me. Just
Yeah. But, no, Trevor Jones.
Sick burn on your cat there.
Worked on Last Mohicans, Notting Hill, Cliffhanger, G.I. Jane. He's got a pretty big
Cliffhanger, all right.
He's got a pretty big filmography.
Yeah.
But I didn't recognize. I don't think I've seen most of it.
But none of those soundtracks are in your playlist that you listen to.
Last Mohicans
is.
Well, that
I
you're
listen
like,
to that
I'm
just
saying,
on repeat.
you're not like put the Cliffhanger soundtrack on, honey.
nobody.
Let's.
Cliffhanger was Stallone.
Heck yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay.
So the budget for this film.
Heck yeah.
Oh no. Whatever this is.
This is a shocking number. $78 million.
That's actually lower than I expected.
I was expecting it higher.
Okay, so
I guess for that time, though.
No, how about what if I tell you that Sean Connery got paid somewhere between $17 and $18 million of that to be in this film?
Okay, so he was like
Yeah.
30% of their.
I would not have been surprised if you said 68 million.
Right? No. It gets worse. It gets worse. So they were filming in 2002 in Prague, in the Czech Republic, and there was a whole series of floods that destroyed $7 million worth of set production.
The universe is telling them, don't make this movie.
Yeah. Like, so that right there, you're already $26 million in the hole. Plus, you have to rebuild those sets or just CGI it. So you got to pay for whatever that was.
So just as a quick note here, this is what, 78 million. So if you just add $15 more million, right, to this budget,
Yeah.
you could have Fellowship of the Ring.
Wow.
That's painful, actually.
Wow.
That's also going to be relevant to the trivia of this film.
Oh, nice. A good segue. I had no idea what's happening.
It's going to kick something further out, though. But so box office worldwide, $179 million.
It actually made money.
It made a little bit of money. Now, again, 2003, right? So we talked about how interesting it is, how older films, you can get away with a lot of stuff because you would have, DVD sales, rentals, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what percentage the studio gets something of it.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
So this movie had another 48 million in rentals and 36 million in DVD revenue within like the first year or two of it being out.
Well, I think just because it's a very interesting concept.
It is. It's got, like, the concept is good. Like, the idea of it is good.
Yeah, like on paper, this should have been a box office smash.
And straight up, you had to pay for none of these IPs.
Yeah, because it's all
public domain,
yeah.
except one of them. The Invisible Man was not public domain.
Oh, because The Invisible Man came out in 40 something.
I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not exactly sure the
whatever
timing.
it wasn't
far enough out. So they have to refer to him as an Invisible Man.
Oh, that's funny.
They make some references. We might get into that a little later, but like they play around with it stuff. Like there's some interesting stuff going on here, and like there's potential in this film. The setup is there, but oh boy, it unravels so quickly.
It again, like I think
1933.
Okay, so it's at like 70 years.
So it's
You need like 75.
It's like right on the edge. It would have been right on the edge.
Yeah. No, the quote unquote setup parts of this movie where it's like going into like, you know, the idea of Quartermain and like,
so,
you know,
okay,
like
here's
the
a question.
recruitment.
Is Quartermain like an actual character from?
Yes.
He is? Okay.
So Quartermain is a whole series of books. Written in the 1880s. So there's like one main story for him, book, and then there's like 17 prequels and sequels of him. So like he's like an Indiana Jones.
He's a proto Indiana Jones
type, you know, the big adventure type writing. So I mean, there's a ton to draw from here.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
No, you're good. It's very pulp. Almost. But like again, 1800s,
Well,
like the precursor to that pre-pulp.
When did Jules Verne did 20,000 Leagues in what, 1901?
19. Oh my gosh.
It's like right around the turn of the century, 1898, something like
I'll
that.
find it out.
Okay,
Hold
it's
on.
a similar time.
I don't want to misquote it. It's one of my favorite books.
Yeah,
and I should
don't
know,
mess it up.
Yeah. But for me, it's like the earlier parts of this movie have competency just because I guess that's the easiest part to set up. Is it like you're gathering the team?
How much
you're
can
introducing
you mess up
people? Yeah,
these characters where you know who they are, right? Yeah,
and it's like it's the I guess it's also a you know a time honored thing of like putting a crew together for a heist or like, you know, gathering your group or
1870.
1870.
Okay, so he wrote it before I think most of the Quartermain stuff was written. So like this is like on brand for this time period.
Yeah. But for me, it really is the middle of the movie is where everything starts to fall apart.
When they get to Venice, everything just kind of
Well, and there's just the lines of dialogue become so inane. Everything, it's almost like this doesn't happen.
Do you want to watch a magic trick?
It's almost like it's the
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
It is. Okay, yeah. It took me a second.
It's the whole like it's quiet, a little too quiet, but written unironically. You know what I mean? They don't say that in this, but it's that level of writing of like
it's like
there's
it's like hearing someone in Star Wars say, "I've got a bad feeling about this." You're like, it's like the 12th movie. Stop saying that.
Yeah. It's very similar.
We know it's the thing that he said the one time.
Well, and also like I feel like the big problem too this movie runs into is that like the villain is very in the early parts kind of bumbling, kind of amorphous, and then you're kind of like, so what's this dude trying to do? And you never get like a full like
it never hooks.
Easy hook grab.
It's very convoluted whenever like the big reveal happens halfway through the film, and then you're like, oh, okay,
why?
They didn't spend enough time building that up for the reveal to mean anything. You're like, okay.
It just happens, and it almost feels like they had two different scripts and they tried to smush them together without like
a little
making it work.
See, I don't know how many graphic novels there are. If it was like a whole series, I don't know how Alan Moore works. If he only does like one big one or what.
If it's anything like Watchmen, then it's like one, but it's like it's released weekly, but it's
right, but it's
one story.
One story. Yeah. So I wasn't sure if there were a bunch of different stories that they tried to pull the best parts from, or like, how they did it.
Right. Yeah.
And if that could have been a factor in the writing and messing things. I don't know. I'm not trying to make excuses for him because let's be honest, most of this film is pretty inexcusable.
It is.
It's not, it's 2003, and we're right in that solidly in that wheelhouse of like, oh man, CGI could do anything. Like, calm down.
I think this movie would have been a lot better if there was more practical effects in it.
There are sure. And the thing is, we're in the era of storytelling and also the way it's presented, it's very steampunk.
Yeah.
And this is kind of right before I think steampunk really started having a big revival.
Yeah, really like took off.
Yeah, so like this could have been, the proto steampunk. Like, think if some of this gadgets and stuff are practical, how cool it could have looked on screen.
Well, and I want to say, I do want to give them credit for like making Mr. Hyde actually be like a big rubber armed suit that like a dude wore, and it wasn't just like
100%.
the Mr. Hyde from Van Helsing,
right?
Yeah,
It was just CGI,
CG, flipping around and stuff. So like there are moments here where they do show restraint, and they are kind of like, well, let's do this practically. And then there's like a shot of the Nautilus from the outside, and you're like,
which I gotta say, their concept, their take on the Nautilus looks like the idea of it looks gorgeous.
It looks really cool.
Yeah.
The idea
there's
problems.
There's a lot of problems.
There's lots of problems.
As soon as they're like, wow, that looks really, and it starts moving, you're like, ooh. Ooh.
They also do this thing where like this is whatever. We're not past the spoiler wall, but who cares? they introduce things like an automobile, right? A car in like 1898 or what?
I call it an
99.
automobile.
And it's got two lanterns, hanging from each side instead of headlights. And everyone jumps in this thing and just takes off, and they're just having a conversation. I'm like, no one's going, whoa, what is this magic?
I gotta say,
on these cobblestone streets, this thing's got better shocks than a modern car.
Amazing.
Oh, it looks great.
The design of that?
The design's really good.
Whoever like the storyboard, concept art, I don't know if that was like lifted straight off the page from Alan Moore. I don't know, but whoever they are having a great day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we're putting together a league to go in search of more content.
Oh, gosh.
And good news, the search is already over. SpoilersIntendedPodcast.com for all of our previous episodes. That's right, you can go there to listen to everything we've said about all kinds of stuff in the past, along with links to things like our Discord and socials.
Look, if you want to hop on our Discord and tell us why you wrote that 10-star review that we read earlier about
we know
this
it was
film,
one of you. We're on to you.
You should hop on there because we will go at it.
Yes, please.
We've
Also,
got channels just for that.
do we?
We're going to have
Make one.
Thunderdome.
10-star LXG channel.
LXG Thunderdome.
We also have social media, Instagram and Facebook. Please like anything you see us post and follow us.
All right, we have completed our map montage that LXG did not give us, which
I know,
it should have.
coward.
Like
We hypothetically circumvented the world on an aluminum globe.
Like this type of movie begs for that kind of scene, and they just didn't do it. It's like, what the heck are you doing?
How should we represent the globe? We got a lot of leftover aluminum foil. You want to just
from all that catering for Sean Connery.
Yeah. All the catering left over from Connery and his duck that he has to eat every day.
So we are now past the
Duck
spoiler wall.
melange.
It's all spoilers all the time. We're going to kick it off with a little bit of trivia. We already talked about it a little bit, especially the big one here, what everyone needs to hear about and know about.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery and Stephen Norrington disagreed over almost everything, leading to frequent shouting matches.
Nice.
All right. So
Sounds like a great set to work on.
So one of the most famous arguments between Connery and Norrington, as told by Jason Fleming in an interview, involved Connery objecting to another take of them walking down the road in Venice, just the team lined up walking down the road, saying, "What? You want us to do that again?" Norrington replied, "For $18 million, I don't think it's too much to ask of you to walk down a road."
Got him.
According to Jason, Connery's reply is unprintable.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So Norrington did not attend the opening party.
Oh my God.
I thought you were going to say like Sean Connery's birthday party.
And when Connery was asked where he could be, he replied, "Check the local asylum."
Oh my God.
That's incredible.
So we've already covered about the main characters, except Invisible Man, were in the public domain at the time of filming. So as a result for the Invisible Man, they gave him a name, a different name, whose name I've already forgotten. Skinner.
Rodney Skinner.
Yeah, Skinner. But as a result, he's never called the Invisible Man. He's just an Invisible Man.
Yeah.
So he even references the fact that he got the serum from a mad doctor.
From someone.
Yeah.
Which is the reference to
The original.
Invisible Man.
Right, so they played with it.
What's bad for Tony Curran, who played Rodney Skinner, is the poster is just, it's a trench coat with a hat and no face because it's invisible. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, this is your big break, your big moment.
I told all my friends I was in this movie. Sure, Tony, whatever you say.
So Connery refused to play an opium addict, which is the original starting point for Alan Quatermain before he's recruited.
I mean, I guess I could kind of see that. I mean, like, I don't think it really changed any part of his character. I mean,
I don't think it really made it.
I don't know if there's
his
enough.
kid being dead was more than
Honestly,
enough
I think
to-
that was perfectly compelling.
Yeah,
Well,
that's compelling.
There's not enough time to like have it, and this movie doesn't have the tact to actually handle an opium addiction storyline.
Well, it was supposed to be Mina coming. Peter Wilson's character coming to
Harker.
Harker to pull him out of it or whatever. But they just were like, yeah, let's not do that because Connery doesn't like it.
What? Okay, so Dorian
Gray.
Yeah, like I guess I'm not familiar with that story or that character.
The story of Dorian Gray is essentially he is quote unquote immortal because he makes a
Painting of
I'm
himself?
Paraphrasing. No, he makes a deal with
Somebody,
either the devil or with
Or like a witch or something, yeah.
Something that's basically like the painting will continue to age, but you will not. If you ever see the painting, the entire curse is broken and you will go back to your normal age.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that's like the whole setup with Dorian Gray. Is that like he's this
yeah.
dude that's
But
like,
isn't
you know,
like kind of the story revolving around him is kind of one of those, I can't remember the other thing, where it's like, hey, you can go in every room in the castle but this room. And of course now
Right.
it's like the curiosity is just over time killing him, like I have to see it.
right?
And like
Yeah,
that's his undoing.
It's
or
one of those
something
things
like
where it was very Edgar Allan Poe-esque.
Yeah,
It's like
gotcha.
the one thing you can't look at is this painting, and
So of
it's
course
the
the
only thing he wants to look at after
yeah.
being alive for hundreds of years. And,
Yeah.
you know, like and so. Yeah, so the way they handled it here is like it's his kryptonite. And it was like, okay, they didn't even really set up that that's what would happen. So like the average person, if you haven't read,
kind of line drops it, and like it's one of these things where, at least for Dorian Gray, I knew who the character was, so
Right.
I knew where we were going with it. But yeah, I will give him props, right? Especially for an American audience, introducing a character like Alan Quatermain. I don't know how popular the graphic novel was.
probably not very.
I'd never heard of him. I was like,
I'd
is this
never-
just the?
I feel like-
we want to make it Sean
rem-
Connery, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I remember hearing the name, but I had no point of reference to be
I mean,
like.
it's a pretty iconic. It's a great name, right? Alan
Right.
Quatermain.
Like I definitely feel like when I saw this, I was like, oh, and I remember thinking he was like a pulp comics
Yeah.
person, not
Yeah.
like
a
a Johnny Quest. Kind
Yeah,
of.
kind of type
yeah,
thing.
I can see that.
But I had no like frame of reference to be like he's exactly like him. Yeah,
But I mean, like, give him props for setting that kind of character up and at least giving us a reasonable understanding of what he's about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Not that it's not particularly relatively easy to do. It's fairly cliched, but whatever.
it is, but it works.
So you mentioned Lord of the Rings earlier. So supposedly
Never heard of it.
Connery was offered roles in both The Matrix and Lord of the Rings.
So he wanted, and if he refused, he wanted to get on the train.
So supposedly he was offered the role of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings.
Oh my
Imagine
god!
him as Gandalf. Right?
A wizard arrives precisely when.
But both for both films, when he got the scripts, he basically just said, "I just don't understand it. Like I don't understand the point." He's a more literal guy than I would have assumed. I guess
he's
I don't know.
Scottish. I mean,
Yeah.
What's that supposed to mean? Hey, hold on now.
You know how those
I
Scots
can say
are.
that.
You know how those Scots are. They're very literal.
But yeah, so like both of those,
Me and Steven are very similar to this.
I've got some Scot blood in me.
who doesn't honestly?
Scotch Irish.
just
mishmash. All the whitest races.
Who else can we offend in this episode? Like line them up.
Oh, give
baby.
me time. Hold on.
Why could Napoleon not have shown up in this film?
Exactly. Oh man.
I am French.
Oh.
No.
Okay. So, anyways,
So yeah, he felt like he missed out because both those films blew up. They made tons
Yeah.
of money. So
Sure.
like, this hit, and again,
because he wasn't in them, bro.
It's I know, but it's another script that he didn't understand, but he just went for it because he's like, well, this is. And then at the end of it, he's like, I'm never acting again.
So I guess that's a wild thing to think about, right? So from his perspective, all of these scripts, The Matrix, Lord of the Rings, and League is all just weird,
equally
nerdy
opaque.
gobbledygook.
Yeah, equally opaque.
So what's
Equally
funny too
weird.
is he was in the Avengers, and I
Right.
think because the Avengers bombed so hard, he was gun shy about being in the Matrix and Lord of the Rings.
Sure, yeah.
Because the Avengers, he was like, well, it's just the Avengers, but just a different story.
Yeah.
And looking at it on, just from the outside perspective, if you're not in that kind of culture.
Yeah.
You're just like, I don't know.
I don't know. It's all a
Yeah.
bunch of made up names.
Yeah.
And weird.
Which is like, of all the things, what's wild to me is like Lord of the Rings. Like, but you like grew up presumably with a fairly
like
UK English centric education. How do you
Education.
not
You would
run
think,
across
know
this?
what Lord of
Yeah.
the Rings is.
Although
Yeah.
that is us supposing that is part of the curriculum
Well,
that he would
or
have
that,
had in
that
the
it
60s. I
didn't
have
just
no idea.
blow up in the 80s
Right.
versus
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the 50s or
I have
whatever.
no idea
yeah.
what school
Yeah, 'cause the
children were
thing is,
learning
like,
in the.
by the time like all this really started getting into like the pop culture level of stuff, like he was
He's an old
already
man.
yeah,
He's
he
in
was
his
an old
50s.
man. Yeah.
He's already finished playing Bond at that point. Yeah,
he was done.
Yeah.
But yeah, just an absolutely bonkers film. There's just so much about this that is
Yeah.
nuts.
It's so okay.
Okay, no, okay. Actually, I'll go
Go.
ahead and say this. So
Go get it.
I like their take on Captain Nemo.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. So I was curious because I think this is a really cool take of Captain Nemo.
I like it. I like their take on it. Now I will say the way, because like the original Captain Nemo and the books and like I'll say like the Disney film 1954. Like Captain Nemo does not want anything to do with anyone that is on land.
Right.
Like he has no interest in anything that's happening up there besides just revenge of whatever he wants to do.
Sure.
That he feels jilted from humanity.
Yeah.
So like having this one be helpful is kind of like, it's a little weird.
Sure.
But the actual like take that they have, like I love his design. I do like the Nautilus's design. It changes shape or changes size a lot.
It fits
To
it's
what-
like, this is
What does
an
it need to
ocean
fit
liner.
into?
Yeah, then it's like this is a riverbed.
Yeah,
Hold on now.
there's a lot of problems there, but the actual visual design of it, and I love his fighting style because it's just very like kind of martial arts, something that you would kind of I could expect it from someone like Captain Nemo.
This is like a very much so a classic, and I don't want to tread on too many weird tropes or whatever, like the Far East,
right,
with
the foreign fighter,
a whiff of foreignness with a little almost magic added into it, but it's not magic.
Yeah.
But it's the way he moves is so different from how the West would perceive it at this time that it is magic.
And I liked it, and I loved his outfit.
Oh,
I think his design, his crew's design, and the Nautilus
was very
is all
good.
very
Yeah.
cool.
everything, and like they went out. So Naziruddin Shah is not a name I recognize.
Yeah.
He's apparently what either is or was a big actor in Indian cinema.
Okay.
He's
Nice.
huge. Like they went out to
He did really good.
an
Yeah.
Indian restaurant in Prague during filming. The whole
Yeah.
cast, right? So this is, Sean Connery's right there, right? The owner of the restaurant recognized Shaw and was like, no. You don't sit out here. You have the best table, the best food. Yet, like, well, Sean's probably over in the corner, like, why is this not about me? Like,
The guy's like, "Who are you?"
yeah. Wait a minute, somebody else is big? What? That's not possible.
You smell like you've already eaten duck today. Okay, have a seat. Okay, this guy's fine. The one thing I would say, and it's not a complaint. This is, it's just a convenience, and it's kind of an indicative problem of some of the script. Is that like they do use the technology and how advanced he is sometimes to like get out of jail.
Oh,
free
yes, absolutely.
and
He
get
has a
ahead of
cruise
some
missile.
things. He has a thank you.
I love it. I don't care.
There's levels of it where I'm like, okay, that's conceivable, and then it's like we have a ballistic cruise missile.
What if our solution to this problem is an
I have a
ICBM?
tomahawk missile. Also, yes.
Very modern of them. I'm not gonna lie.
Can we
Just
talk
a big
about?
button on the Nautilus is just problem solver.
Yeah. Can we also
Nobody
talk
push
about?
that button. Quick, somebody push the button.
Can we talk about how it's like, okay, what's happening? Well, an explosion is making all of Venice sink. I tell you what would fix that. Another explosion. If we just did it right here at the end of the current collapse,
so
I'm
I like-
how would that even come close to?
So-
Like the idea is so ludicrous.
The concept, right, is presented as like
all of the charges are linked together.
No. So what I was going to say is the concept is presented like a fire break, right?
Yeah.
And if you make a break in the fire, then it can't hop
Yeah.
from one source of fuel. Well, if you want to use a fire break concept, just make it a fire.
Right.
And then have them just blow up a couple buildings and that creates a fire. Like, this is so easy.
Instead of shooting ICBM.
ICBM. Yeah.
At the Batmobile.
At the Batmobile.
Well, so that's the thing. Venice isn't even that big of a city.
No.
Like, for the ICBM to, like, go up and then come back down, it's
No.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, when they were doing like the whole like, okay, we have to get out ahead of it and then you shoot the missile and they launch the thing straight up, I was like, boy, I hope they like factor in the trajectory time on this. Like, this thing's in the air for a hot freaking minute here. Like,
Yeah.
we're going up to the stratosphere and back down.
that
Like,
is
we
a
did-
jump cuts problem.
Right, yeah. And then it's like, how is it tracking the Batmobile? It's not a heat signature. What can it be?
Well, they at least they don't actually. They don't cover
No.
it. They use that as a setup to justify tracking the little nautilopod
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
still
Can
How are they doing it?
Can you imagine,
Is there a
like-
lantern on it that's like magic?
Can we talk about that segment right there where they drop the little Nautilus pod in the water and they're like, we need to make sure you understand who this is. Let's CGI Dorian Gray in this window.
It's like they projected it on a
looks
flat
so
piece and he's like
bad.
sitting there and you're like, why?
And then like as it goes back to the water, it like tries to bend him to like get the perspective. Right?
Yeah.
Just don't.
So,
Stop.
okay.
And then it's like we have a radio recording to do the 3 minutes of exposition of what happened, but we also filmed it
Yes.
so you can see there. You're like, what
This
are you
is something
doing?
I wanted to bring up that I had completely forgotten since my
jar.
initial
I
viewing.
know, I totally spaced this.
My friend Faulkner and I went to see this in theaters, among other people. But
Yeah.
when that
Regrettably.
when that video montage plays and Dorian Gray goes meow
you are
or growl, right? Me and Faulkner for decades have, when we mess with him, we'll go growl to each other. And we had forgotten where it came from, like where it started, like what made us begin. So when I was on the couch watching this and the thing played, I had this weird feeling. I was like, I remember this kind of flashback. And he went, growl. I texted him immediately, like, dude, we got this from LXG. And he was like, oh my God. I sent like a screenshot of it. I was like, look at it.
So
Oh my gosh, my jaw hurts.
when my wife and I were watching this film, right?
Had she ever seen this before?
No.
Okay, wonderful.
And so the thing is, like,
Wonderful.
she really enjoyed Van Helsing. And so I was like, okay, so
Did she enjoy this?
No. So this is a super similar era, but this is the idea of you tried to aim so precisely at the mark that when you miss it, you just go way off.
so
It's in a
far out.
different
Murdered
zip
someone in
code.
the crowd.
Yeah.
So Dorian Gray is going around, right? And they have the moment where he starts making out with Mina, and Lauren is just like, the guy is clearly gay. Like that's totally how they're presenting him. I don't even understand. Unless this is some kind of double cross. Why are they even? And then they do the double cross. She goes,
I forgot about like the whole like 3 minutes of exposition. But in the whole time I'm like, but they're listening to it. Is this a
Also-
record that also has video?
but it's also
quality
a
on it?
video that was filmed in black and white. Nothing up to this point has shown us that it had to be in black and white.
To me, what that screamed to me was that they shot the flashback video first and thought, we'll have this projected on a wall.
Yeah.
Then they get to that point and they were like, just play an audio log. And then they were like, for the viewers in the audience, we got to show them what's happening here. Even though they're just hearing it, make it look black and white or something.
just do something.
You know, it's like just the series of decisions that happen in this movie are just
You
out
can't
of
you
control.
can't squint too hard at like any of the actual.
Oh, you
like,
can. You absolutely can. Trust me. And you see straight through it. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
So there was, speaking of, since we're making a conjecture here, maybe this was something that they initially hadn't planned on doing, that we need to amp this up
Yeah.
or whatnot.
Right, yeah.
There was a scene that was cut where Tom Sawyer, right? It's Tom Sawyer, reveals the reason he's
Well,
pursuing.
did they ever call him Tom, though?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, they do. Okay.
So no, it gets worse.
I knew it was Mr. Sawyer from America. And like, yeah.
He reveals the reason why he was tracking the Phantom is because one of the Phantom's exploits or attempts at sowing discord happened in America, and it killed his
Not Huck
agent
Finn.
partner Huck Finn. Yes.
Not Huck Finn. You mean we had a scene where Tom Sawyer in the rain looks up at the sky and says, no, over Huck Finn's dead body, and they cut it?
So it's funny
possibly,
too,
yes.
because while I was watching this the second
It's
time,
on a river raft.
and he was like, "My name's Sawyer," And like it didn't click to me until like halfway through the film, and I was like, "It's Tom Sawyer!" No.
I was waiting for them to cut to him painting a fence or something, and be like, "No!"
See, like my wife, huge literary buff, right? So every time they would introduce a character, she'd just go, "Ugh." Sorry, Agent Sawyer, Tom Sawyer. Ugh.
That's not the intended effect. Is what they were.
That's
wanting.
played by Shane West, I think is his name.
When he first popped on the screen, I go, "This is my brain went. Is that Pacey from Dawson's Creek? No. Is that Devon Sawa from Idle Hands? No. Who is this guy?" And I looked it up. I was like, Shane West.
So was he in Tuck Everlasting?
He was in A Walk to Remember with Mandy Moore. He was the guy in that. Yeah.
When he appeared on screen, my wife at one point was like, "This is like, no. He's kind of like budget Heath Ledger, but not." And then in another sequence, he turned, and I was like, "Boy, doesn't he look like Pippin right now?" And she was like, "Yeah, he does." Like
he's just got one of those faces.
Like it's just this face where, like, from one angle you'd be like, "That is like a rugged man of action," and from another angle, like, "Buddy, you a hobbit." And I don't know how he pulls off both at the same time.
So we have to talk about the red giant in the room.
Oh boy,
which is
do we?
The awful CGI main Hulk bad guy.
Like the concept of it, cool.
Yeah.
The little bit when he's just chugging the whole flask and
Dr. Jekyll.
Dr. Jekyll.
Or Hyde, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Is he Hyde at that point?
He's still Hyde,
yeah.
but he's like Smart Hulk almost.
Yeah.
He's like
not the whole
not the whole bottle or whatever. And it's just
I think.
yeah.
This dude's crazy.
Like you think I'm stupid. Holy cow.
Okay, here's a question too, because like as I was watching the scene, and then he like mentioned, he's like, well, he's using up all of his serum, and I'm like, is this like you have like a limited amount?
Now there's like a fuel component to it. Yeah.
Well, and like they had an opportunity with when they capture him to talk about it.
Yeah.
They show him he has like 25 of these vials. So obviously you need multiple for some reason. They had an opportunity to cover it then. They didn't.
They didn't. Yeah.
They had an opportunity with it when he saves the sub. They didn't.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot about his character that was kind of neat. I always love when they do this with specific. It's like a thing they just do with Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Where he like looks in the mirror and talks to himself.
That's always a great.
It's just such a good storytelling element that it always works.
Yeah. Well, because that's the thing too is like it's not that like everyone else can see him that way. It's just how he perceives himself.
Well, but then also when Hyde saves the sub and he sees Jekyll's reflection in it, and he's like, "You did good" or whatever to himself. Like it's just that it's just.
That was well done.
Yeah. And like that's the thing is like there are certain parts of this film that could have been really good.
100%.
And it's just surrounded by so much just bad CGI.
Poop. Just cinematic poop. Speaking of the red dude, this guy chugs the thing, and I'm like, oh, I had forgotten. I was like, oh gosh,
I'd forgotten too.
I knew.
Then
as soon as I saw it.
this big red spaghetti monster starts running after him, and I'm going, oh no.
And they find like the only tower that's somehow a dead end, but also has icicles growing off the roof.
Yeah.
Like what is this
Like,
tower?
I don't understand how the weather works wherever they're at.
So
also, speaking of, could you just like they give us a little bit of a map about like getting into Mongolia, but just like, come on, this is the kind of movie that just begs for a freaking.
It begs for a little bit of something.
Yeah, we need the map overlay.
Okay, Richard Roxburgh does pretty good as M.
Yeah.
He does.
James Moriarty.
All right. Okay, that twist too is like,
they also just dump that in there.
They just
because they're like, my name's.
They're just throwing.
They dumped that out like somebody dropping their plate of dinner on the ground. Just blap, it's just there, and you're like, oh.
I'd forgotten that, but when they introduced him as M, I was like, oh man, is this kind of like a Bond play?
Right,
That's not terrible.
I mean, because you got Sean Connery in the room. Why not?
Right,
he's right there.
Yeah.
And like, so they have two portraits in the background in that introduction.
Yeah.
Of like, it has like Ivanhoe and Robin Hood and the Three Musketeers. So it's like kind of implying that these other literary figures were earlier iterations of the League.
The League.
And then it's like, oh, yo, I'm M. Okay, cool. This is like a continuation. Got a little Kingsman element.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. And then it's just like, well, I'm James Moriarty. It's like, really?
Why are we here?
Where's Holmes? He would have been more interesting to see in this movie.
Right, we just went for that? Like, come on.
Yeah.
They could have gotten Robert Downey Jr. for that.
what is
At that point, was he in rehab?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
2003?
Yeah.
2000.
If he wasn't in
2003,
rehab,
yeah.
he needed to be in rehab at that point.
He was either about to go in or he was currently in. Yeah. What was Moriarty's plan?
Great question.
Okay, so basically, he wanted to get all the DNA from all the extraordinary gentlemen / ladies.
That was like a secondary plan.
Was it?
That was like B plot.
So
of his
the
plan.
main plot was apparently just sell weapons to all the sides that want to fight each other, but they don't want to
and
fight
then
each
just make
other.
money.
So it's caused them to fight each other.
Yeah.
And then also in the process, we can now sell them, well, you want your own hide to
yeah.
fight?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So he's just an arms dealer. Which is,
Gotcha.
again, it's a very Bond plot.
It is.
Just
Yeah.
not executed as well as basically any Bond plot. And that's a low bar. There
Yeah.
are some really bad Bond movies.
100%. It just, it always felt like I understood to a degree of like what he was going for. It just never felt like they ever got into it enough to make it a threat. It never felt like this is why they've had to get this league together. This is why
Yeah.
this league is the only one that can stop this
now-
threat. It was just kind of like I had multiple moments where like some inane thing is happening on screen and I'm going like, so wait, what's he doing this for? Why is he? Oh, because he's got to do that. That's right. But okay. Any army in the world could have stopped this, I'm like,
Yeah.
they never justify.
That it has to be superheroes.
It has to be
essentially.
superheroes, and they never really, again, give like a thing with him to make it so concrete and so
Yeah.
perilous and ever present in the movie that it feels like it's
So here's a question.
problem.
Does it really, like, Paris to Venice is really not that far.
Yeah, they kept making this huge deal.
They're like,
about,
it's in
we'll never
4
make it in
days.
time.
I'm like, you're in Britain.
You can
didn't
walk
go
it
to-
in
yeah.
4 days.
Well, now, if it wasn't, the problem is at this point, like steam travel is everywhere. So
Yeah.
there's no like, oh, if you're only doing sailing ships, it could take a week.
Well, I guess if
It
you have
could
to
take-
if you have to go all the way down to Gibraltar,
Well, you have to
and
go
then-
around
yeah.
They blew up a bunch of blimps in a scene in this. They've got blimps.
Yeah, but like that's the thing is like it's like the Nautilus is what fusion powered whatever.
Yeah.
It just runs. It's fine.
But that's the thing. When they get to Paris, it's only been 1 day.
Yeah.
And then there's like, all right, now we got to make the trek to Venice.
Right,
And,
like-
and it has like 2 full scenes of them just on the water.
send them to
Yeah.
Tokyo or something. Like
yeah,
actually
like-
make it
like,
sound
what are
like
we
it takes
doing
a
here?
minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a choice.
It's definitely a choice.
It's a choice.
It
I mean,
is.
maybe they were like, we have to go to Venice via river, so we gotta get the smaller Nautilus out and then like go down the Seine.
Yeah, well, there's only so many shrinking points that the Nautilus can use per day.
Everyone has to move into the center compartments.
Single
Everybody
file,
get in. Everybody
single
get
file,
in.
Single file. Jekyll, I swear to God, you better keep Hyde under control. His shoulders
The
aren't gonna
hallway
fit.
just gets tighter.
That would like a full Willy Wonka where like
No, it's like the night bus from Harry Potter 2.
yeah.
jets forward and it stretches them. And
For the next duration, there will be one restroom. Oh no!
Oh, man.
Yeah.
yeah, and like the thing is, again, like to your point about the main plot being getting their abilities.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why we formed the league, or the concept of. But like, couldn't you just go around to these people individually and get?
Yeah,
They're- like, this
without
can't
them
be that-
being all in together in one spot and being a better force to
Yeah,
stop
I'm like,
you.
can you not just get
Yeah.
on Nemo's boat and take some photos? That just doesn't seem like that high of a barrier to entry.
Yeah, probably
No.
not. Especially if Nemo was like, "Yeah, man, I'll join."
Yeah, like he already signed up.
Yeah.
He's
He's like,
willing
"Yeah,
to
cool,
sign-
bro."
Like you couldn't just show up and be like, "Hey, so we were potentially recruiting for.
Yeah.
You mind if me and a couple of my guys come on and just see what you're like, so we get an idea? Because some people said you were a pirate. We want to
Yeah.
vet you a little. Boom, easy photos.
Yeah, come on
Obviously,
in.
it's not a movie.
Check
at that
out
point,
my
but-
tinfoil map.
Right? it rotates.
Yeah.
I mean, the
concept
concept
is good.
is really cool.
The
It just
execution is
doesn't
not,
work.
No.
So we need to talk about just the final bit of this film.
I was going to go back to Venice.
Let's go to Venice and then the final bit.
Because
Sure.
the initial reason they go to Venice is because there's a conference of world leaders that they have to protect.
And then they thought they were going to get blown up.
they get there and it's like, actually, surprise, it's Carnival. It's just a bunch of ordinary citizens. Maybe the council's in here. I don't know. We have to save them. They don't actually save anybody. They just bomb it. And somehow all the people are fine because they're never in the path.
Incredible crowd CG when
Oh,
they
gosh.
have that
Oh, gosh.
just palpable crunchy CG.
And
where
then
they
Moriarty later reveals, the council was just a ruse to get you to go to Venice. Like, what? What is the point of this whole middle of the film?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's more like it's not his overall plot. It's the machinations along the way that you're like,
terrible.
This makes no sense.
Yeah, like it's just say there's a plot to bomb Carnival at Venice.
Yeah,
easy. How?
Yeah.
Like what?
yeah.
All right. So
now
the final bit of the film.
Yes.
Quatermain dies.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever. Or does he?
'Cause there's gotta be
Africa
sequels.
won't let him die.
Oh yeah, that part I was like, what is this?
So I kind of like the idea of Africa won't let me die is like you're immortal. No, that's actually a curse, buddy. You're zombie now. You coming back as a zombie.
That would have been awesome.
If we'd gotten, League of Extraordinary LXG 2.
Yeah, he's got to come back.
What if this spawns like a full Fast and the Furious? We're like talking about LXG 10 right now.
Oh my God.
They jumped the shark. The Nautilus has gone to space.
Nautilus Tokyo Drift.
It's funny because there's an anime about that.
They're out there like recruiting H.G. Wells. Actually, so there was supposed to be a sequel to this film, and they were going to be fighting the Martians.
Oh, no.
From War of the Worlds. There's a poster.
Okay, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
It fits the period. Again,
it does.
There's
I could definitely accept that.
When you're panning past,
I just don't think they'd execute it though. Like, I think
when you're
be as
panning
bad.
past like a newsstand or whatever, there's like the front page of the news, and it's talking about volcanoes erupting on Mars. And so it was meant to be like a subtle clue to this is the next film.
I could totally get on that.
Again, the concept of it could be banging. Yeah. That could be a baller
like
film.
Having Captain Nemo fist fight a Martian. Let's go.
Zombie Alan Quatermain.
The Nautilus rises out of the sea and shoots a salvo of ICBMs at the tripod.
The Martians are like, we don't even have any.
just go full Ohio class nuclear assault. Irradiate the countryside to save Britain.
Gosh. Wow. What a movie.
Alan Quatermain's over in the background, just be like, just shoot whales, nobody cares.
Oh my God.
Okay, all right, well. So, would you recommend this film and would you rewatch it?
No.
I think that's a no for both. I would only recommend this to someone if I didn't like them. No. If
they're a huge Sean Connery fan, they've never completely seen
like
all his filmography.
If they were seriously like, I want to watch a bad movie. Like, I want to watch something.
I just want to watch a bad film. Like, there are better, bad, worse films.
There are. Like, that's the problem.
I could kind of see this as like a let's get together, have some beers, order some pizza, and just riff on, just throw popcorn at the screen, right?
Yeah.
But like, there's better bad choices.
There's better bad choices for that. So I don't think no to both.
I feel like honestly, if I just never see this film again, I'll be fine.
I was fine until I recommended it. I'm like, no, we have to do this movie.
We need something kind of like Van Helsing, that energy of Van Helsing. Well, LX, oh gosh, we commit.
Everyone cringed. Yeah. I was like, I hate to say it, but
seeing this movie twice was 2 times too many. Oof.
Oh. Well, alrighty. On that note, it's about that time to wrap it up. Before we let you go, though, for just $1, one fraction, I don't even want to do the math,
that's
of Sean Connery's pay.
It is actually 161 yen.
Something like that.
Yeah,
the exchange. Reveal the date we recorded this. Quick plot the
so I was going to trace it back.
I was just going to do it as like some fraction of Sean Connery's pay, but it's so small.
I mean, you're in like the zeros or percentages.
0.0000. Yeah, no, it's not worth doing. But for very, very little, you can help support the show and you get access to our bonus content.
Yep.
We basically have a guaranteed episode a month. It's always different than what we have on the regular channel.
We get wild.
We have ChatGPT give us movie title suggestions, and we fill out the roster.
We could come up with a banger LXG
better
clone.
LXG.
Oh yeah. It feels like this movie came out of something like that. Like an AI gave somebody like, hey, how about this?
It's like proto AI.
Yeah.
It's just Stephen Hawking over here. What if you did?
But I mean, we've given ChatGPT romance advice. We have done tier lists on Halloween candy. We've done,
Chips,
sodas,
sodas.
chips. We've gotten sick so many times. We've fought presidents. We've fought CEOs. We do a lot of wild stuff. It's a lot of fun, and it's $1, and it's the easiest way to directly support the cast. We appreciate all our patrons.
Absolutely. But as always, if you would follow us on socials, leave us a review wherever you're listening now, and share us with a friend. But until next time, I'm Steven.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Ryan.
And every spoiler was intended.